Should be going. Let me try refreshing my page, see if we're live. And I do believe we're live. Hi, everyone. I've got Angry Mgtow here, and we are going to talk about being a Mgtow. Say hi.
Hey, faggots.
I'm going to tweet out the link real quick because it didn't give me the option to do that automatically like it should, so that everybody can see that I'm live streaming. And hopefully people will show up. But all right, so I had this Mgtow come leaving comments on one of my videos. That's what kind of prompted this. He was saying some fairly extreme things, and you were saying that you could really identify with these kind of guys. And so I was kind of wondering what you meant by that.
Okay.
Like, one of the things that he'd said, just to kind of be more specific, was that men could just go ahead and rape women and force them to carry their seed. And you said you could understand that. So that's a little mind-boggling to me. I don't mean to start a little heavy, but I can't wrap my head around that.
Okay. Give me one moment, all right?
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, that's fine. But yeah, y'all can hear my kids and stuff, just so everybody knows. That's because they broke my headphone mic, and I now have a straight-up desk mic. I don't really know how the system's working out, so you can go ahead and let me know in the chat how I sound and everything. Say hi to everybody. I see you, Benny Hanna and Mark Doppelganger. All right, it sounds good. I hope y'all don't mind hearing my kids hollering. They do that a lot. They're 4 and 5. They scream. I'm not sure where Angry went. I may have started off a little strong for him. I'm not really used to interviewing people.
That was way too strong. How dare you ask me that?
Oh, goodness. I hope they're not hurting each other.
Sounds like bloody murder over there.
Sometimes they fight. They're boys. Like, they had a pillow fight the other day, and my oldest decided to use his father's pillow. And because he has sleep apnea, he has a heavy memory foam pillow. And he got his brother with the zipper right across the face. He had to go in timeout for quite a while after that and give an apology. But yeah, now my kid has a bruise down his face from a zipper.
Aww.
But he felt bad. He always does. He didn't realize he was going to hurt his brother. He doesn't realize his own strength. He's big for his age.
All right, so let's go back to your original question about the guy who identified with rape, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, Amanda. Honestly, how I can relate to him, one, I don't think rape is necessarily a good thing. I think that the actual act of violently raping a woman where you corner her and forcibly take her in that way, I don't think that's a good thing. But I can relate to the anger that would bring someone to that position where they would stop actually seeing a woman as a human being and seeing her more as an object. And I'm not saying it's right, but a lot of men, we go through that where we feel like society doesn't care what happens to us. And, society could care less if a man gets raped in jail or if a man is raped in the court system. And, women essentially say everything is rape these days. So at this point, when men feel like they've lost everything and they're treated like degenerates no matter what they do, I can understand where a man would come from, where he'd say, well, I don't care anymore. We'll just take the pussy, kind of like a Pepe Le Pew moment.
Well, I mean, I guess I can understand where you could get angry, but to be able to dehumanize an entire gender like that, where you think that just whatever you need to do to make yourself feel okay is all right. That still blows my mind.
Well, think about it. If men as a gender are extremely dehumanized, we lose everything. We're treated like sexual deviants. We're punished for everything. You come to the point where you feel like such a victim. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Amanda. If you treat someone like a criminal for long enough, eventually they'll start behaving like one.
But doesn't that, all right, let me ask you this. Do you feel like it feeds into it more if you look at things more statistically and large scale rather than just looking at your life and choosing to fix the things in your life or change the people that you choose to associate with?
It's easy to say things along those lines. For example, a lot of men come up with the same thing like, okay, well, I'm not going to focus on how all these other guys are getting fucked over. I'm going to focus on myself and hope that things will be different because I'm the master of my own destiny. And then you become a part of those ranks and you're like, how does this even happen? And other men say, well, we warned you this was happening to men. I mean, it's not really rational to say that, Amanda, to say a bunch of men are having their lives destroyed, but don't worry, you're an individual. Don't worry about what's happening to these guys who are being hauled off to Nazi death camps just because they're men. That's not going to happen to you. Just make better decisions than they did, and things may turn out differently for you. Again, it's like a needle in a haystack. You might not, I mean, realistically speaking, you have to realize that men are being discriminated against in society. And when you realize that men are being discriminated against in society, you have to also conclude that you can be affected by this more than likely because it's just how society treats men.
Now, I want to say that goes a little bit extreme, and that saying those kinds of things is where people will turn around and compare the things y'all say to the things feminists say. When you do things like, say, Nazi death camps, when the feminists are the ones running around comparing everyone to Nazis. I'm just pointing that out so that you can realize why people say things like that. But
well, it's funny because the same things that the feminists complain about, they're doing the same. They're doing those exact same things to us. They're victimizing us as men, and they're basically claiming they're the victims while hiding under the victim narrative. They are the Nazis. They're the Nazis pretending to be victims.
Now, I can say that men are getting a more raw deal. It's getting worse. We need to turn around and change it, make it better. Like, instead of moving further towards equality, we branched off at one point and things started getting shitty again, but towards men. Like, things weren't really shitty towards women, in my opinion, to begin with. Those were small examples, and we've always been complementary, equal, but in a complementary way is the way I like to say it. Like, men and women, we don't necessarily do the same things, but we both further society just in our own different ways. So I've always felt that we've always been equal, just in different ways. And now things are getting shitty towards men, when in the past you can point to where, hey, in this instance, it was shitty towards women. And we need to change that. We need to get back on the path towards equality. But the way that you can look at any situation, anybody can do that. Like, that's how these women come to this point where they can say, hey, look, in my life and in the lives of all these other women, these things happen that suck in our opinion. So things are against us, that we're the victims. We're victims of something. Or you can just choose to look at it and say, hey, things suck for everybody, but in different ways. All I can do is try and fight and change the things that suck for me. Like, if you're a man who has that ability, why don't you go and become a politician and fight for, we want these things changed in the law.
Amanda, I think that's one of the problems. You don't seem to understand what Mgtow really is. Mgtow is it's not a socio-political movement. Mgtow is a group of men that are essentially saying that didn't work. We looked at the MRAs, and the MRAs have tried doing that for about 30 years now, and nothing has gotten done. They're considered a terrorist organization that's literally lobbied against and hated. And the irony is that the MRAs are filled with women. So we know that doesn't work. MGTOW is a different group of men. We're walking away from society, we're walking away from relationships, and we're turning our back and saying we're disengaging from society because society is corrupt. There's no such thing as becoming a politician and trying to change things from the inside. That does not work. Society is completely geared towards gynocentrism. It's already been taken over, and the only way we can survive is not by not playing the game.
Well, but y'all like to point out the fact that men created society. Like that's y'all main sticking point, or not y'all, because I don't want to say all, but a lot of the people that I would consider the Miglies, or even the more hard-leaning moderate MGTOWs, like to say that men invented society, but then you want to turn around and say society is this way and men can't fix it.
Well, it's quite simple. Men create, women consume. Men build societies, women cannibalize them. Everything that men create, women want to control. That's how it always works. Women go after men's resources. Women don't actually create anything of value. You could say, well, women have babies, so they're creating life. Well, to create life, they actually have to have a man involved. So I don't think that's one thing that should even be used. Beyond the fact that they give birth to children, women don't really create anything or offer anything of value to society. And that's just the way a lot of MGTOWs see it.
Well, it's far more than that. Like, women bring stability to society. Like, if you didn't have the woman at home who was able to take care of the things that created comfort and a life for the man wouldn't have been able to go out and be doing all the hard work and things. Like, men would have killed themselves in droves if all their life was just work when they went out, work when they got home. Like you're saying that a lot of MGTOW have that problem where they're committing, like where they want to commit suicide. They have a lot of depression problems. And I wonder if maybe that's part of it. Like, they have no break. There's no comfort there.
Women don't create, modern women do not create comfort for men. Can you agree on that?
Oh, I can agree that there is a large section of society that is getting larger that makes things very difficult. They want to change the way life itself works. But I wouldn't say that women don't create comfort. I think that is an innate part of us. And I think there are men that do that too. Like I said, I'm more on the individual. I think everybody is an individual and everybody goes their own path in life. You can choose to be a more comforting person and still be a man. But I think it is more a majority of women that are like that. It is more innate in a woman.
Is it that women create comfort, or is it that women enjoy comfort? Think about that very carefully. Everything of comfort that women enjoy, they were created by men and cannibalized upon by women. Think about that.
No, not that. Women are the ones that were making the clothes and stuff. Even if you want to go way back in time, like if you think too deeply,
women invented clothing. You believe that?
I said we were the ones that were creating. Like if you look, the people that were doing the weaving and the things like that, this was historically more women.
Tailors were historically men.
That's not the same thing. You're not creating the garment. Like men do that too. Cog, I told you not to pop in unless I said that he said it was okay. Angry was worried that we were going to gang up on him, and I was worried my kids were going to misbehave, so I had asked Cog to co-host, but I guess he did not get my Twitter message where I said that Angry did not want two people. He was driving, that's what he said. But my kids are actually behaving very well. Thank you for trying to help me out there, Cog, because I thought they were going to be bad. I'm a little worried with how quiet they are.
I love that. If you get too quiet, you got to go watch them. Like, what are you shits doing?
Where's the paint? What have you colored this time? As soon as I said that, they start singing. And I've lost where we were in the conversation, but I think that men and women both equally created society. I don't think we could have done it one without the other.
We're talking about clothing and weaving, and women created the weaving, so women are responsible for clothes.
No, I'm not saying specifically that women are responsible for clothes. That's the thing. That's what makes it difficult to talk to y'all sometimes, or you specifically sometimes, is you begin things largely philosophically and then you want to harp down on specific instances. But if you look too deeply into anything, you can twist it any way you want philosophically, because you
Okay,
can
let's
say,
look
well,
at it.
this,
Let's not look at it too deeply. Let's look at it on the surface. Let's talk about clothing on the surface and what the origins of clothing were.
well, I mean, you can't, all we can ever really know about history, this is another thing that bugs me, is what people say. You know, we weren't ever really there. You can't say where clothes actually genuinely began because we've always worn clothes.
Yeah, we look at history, we look at proof, we do research, and then we base our assumptions around that. And around the assumptions that we're able to base based on factual evidence, it suggests that clothing was created by men.
Show me. I say that men and women equally were involved. Like, yeah, there were male tailors. Women were more historically known to be the weavers, like the ones who were dealing with the wool and stuff and cotton.
Who do you think created the very notion of weaving, men or women?
Who cares at this point?
It's rational because it really shows that women were likely given the task that they could handle while men were still out gathering. Again, women were always given the easiest task possible.
So you genuinely believe that men created everything?
Everything of value. Women create misery. I'll give that to them.
I'm sorry, that just makes very, very little sense. Like, to try and say that no woman ever created anything. Like, I can't, off the top of my head, pick out examples. I've never been one of those people. I'm not a Sargon, I'm not a Bering, and I've never claimed to be. I always come at everything from a level of basic common sense because my recall memory is shit. And I've always said that. But women invent shit. Like, it happens. Women build shit. I was having a discussion with that Mgtow in question in that comment section. He said no woman had ever built a building. So I pulled him up an article of the tallest building. I can't remember if it was here in the US or not. I'd have to go find the article again. Tallest building in the world being designed by a woman, female architect. And he said, well, that's not building something. So I pulled him up a article of a prison crew made up of entirely women that build houses.
What is your point? You're trying to show that men and women are equal?
Yes, we are. I'm not saying
So,
there aren't biological differences between men and women. We
so
are
you think
complementary but equal.
so you think
Yes.
women have the same cognitive capacity to achieve the same things men do? They imagine they'll create the spaceships and the cars and all the other things that we have.
Mark Doppelganger just mentioned someone that I'd mentioned to the Mgtow that we were doing this because of Mary Curie. What about her?
Mary Curie was a thief.
She was a thief. She died for what she did.
Let me explain something about
She
that.
gave her life for science.
The device that she used to make the discoveries regarding in relation to radiation that she did, don't forget that it was a device created by her husband who died prematurely before he could actually use it. She then took the device, recorded the data using the device, and took credit for his hard work. Boom, Marie Curie.
How is that theft? How can you say they didn't make it together? They were married. That was her husband.
They didn't. He was an engineer. He worked on the device, created it himself. It's a fact. It's a well-known fact that he created the device.
What about Grace Hopper? And he didn't do the work. He didn't give his life for the science. She did. So I don't think she took credit for his work. It might have been his invention, but it was her work.
He died before he could use the device himself. That's not fair. That's bullshit.
He's not even alive anymore, so what the fuck would he care? What did she steal from him? Nothing. Nothing that he gives a shit about. He's dead. She did
It
the
was
hard work that was necessary for science and gave her life, which y'all are always saying only men do.
She did the hard work. He actually created the device that made it possible. He just never got to take credit for his work.
She did the experiment. That's the hard work. Like, I'm not saying his work wasn't hard work, but she had to die for her experiment. And
She
if
didn't have
she
to
hadn't done that, we would be nowhere near where we are today.
You think men and women are equal when in reality men are the ones who actually think of the amazing things, the creations, computers, everything around us. Women don't use the same, they don't have the same creativity that we do. And it's something that you're not acknowledging.
Because it's bullshit. It's not true. Women can be just as, we can make things. We make shit all the time.
No, let me ask you this. Do you realize that I think I talked about this in the last podcast? You know, if women took a day off, if women said, we're not going to work one day, the only field that women would actually make a difference in, that it would actually create serious problems in, would be nursing, because they dominate nursing. In every other field, there would be really, jobs would still get done. The trains would still move. The planes would not fall out of the skies. But if men decided to take off a single day, it would literally be the test run before the apocalypse, because it would literally take months, sometimes if not years, to get back on track after men taking off one day, a single day. Do you realize that?
Citation.
Citation. How about
You're
you
making
flash?
an extraordinary claim. You're claiming the apocalypse would come about. I need citation for that.
How about we be rational and think about it very carefully, Amanda? Men deliver the food. You know, if you know how supermarkets work, Walmart's work, it works on a very it works on an in and out basis. Basically, as they're selling it, they're restocking the shelves almost on a daily basis. If men stop delivering food for a single day, don't forget that most people only have about 48 hours worth of food. It would literally result in people starving. Places would be backed up. Target, all these places that have food, they would run out of food instantly. It would
All
take
of your scenarios make people sound stupid, though. Look what happened in World War II when there were hardly any men around. The women went out and they did the jobs. Society did not crash.
They went out and did the jobs while the men were overseas dying, right?
Yeah, society did not crash. The women
We
stepped up and went and they did society.
we are not equal, you green-eyed, red-haired devil.
Yes, we are. We are complementary equal. Men and women, there are biological differences. We do things slightly differently. And because society is the way that it is, because we have done these things since the beginning of our society, we naturally fall into certain roles, but that does not make us less than either. It
Are you
doesn't make men
are
less
you
than women. It
a
doesn't make
natural
women less
ginger?
than men.
Are you a natural ginger?
No, I've always said I'm a bottle ginger. But I am so naturally a ginger that the gingers have accepted me into their culture.
Oh God.
I had to give up
Today
my soul for that too.
the day a ginger argues with me. The point I'm trying to make is that, you know, I understand that women historically did serve a purpose. And when it goes back to what we're talking about, why a guy can make a statement saying that he commends raping, rape is acceptable. I'm not saying that I find it acceptable. I don't think that it's a good thing. I think that actual rape is a terrible thing. It's horrible.
He went
But
far beyond that, in fact. He said not only was rape acceptable. Oh, got echo. Is that for me or you? Can you hear that? Am I the only? Okay, it's gone. But he not only said that men could just rape women to get the sex that they want, he also said that they could just force them to carry their child after they raped them to get the children that they want, and then raise
right,
the child because they wouldn't have to raise it.
okay.
How
I know that for you, being a woman, it may sound a little frightening hearing a guy say
Not
something.
frightening because I would kill him. He wouldn't get his hands on me. I have 5 knives on me at all times. Plus, I have mace and a safety spike. I'll take somebody out.
Draw the dino.
Draw the dino?
Yes.
Why don't you go draw your dino? Please not on my walls.
Stop doing that.
Stop drawing. That's what you're doing, isn't it? You're drawing on the walls.
Stop it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to mute for a second and get him to go back in the room. Sorry, hold on.
Go right ahead. This is a fun conversation, guys. Don't you agree? This is really fun. This is really interesting. It's a good topic. She said that she would stab a guy to death if he tried to rape her. But, you know, again, I'm not saying that MGTOWs are supportive of rape. I think that rape is a horrible thing. You know, legitimate rape. I'm not talking about the, you know, when the girl says that she woke up in the morning and, you know, she no longer consented because she regrets the drunken sex. No, not talking about that. Talking about rape, you know, where a guy grabs a girl in the bushes and he forces himself upon her. That's rape.
Okay. He ran off back to the room happily.
All right.
But I heard a bit of what you said, and yes, I'm totally against women that come out with regretful sex and claim it was rape. Like, that is absolutely disgusting. That it makes it harder for women when they actually are raped to come forward with their stories, which then in turn makes their stories harder to believe when they do come forward. It's a self-perpetuating cycle that is utterly disgusting and needs to end. But I don't know how we would ever do that.
You do realize that it's so bad now that they say believe her anyway, and which cops pretty much do.
Again, this all really depends on where you're coming from, I guess. I mean, I live in Texas. Things are much different here.
Well, I was raised in New York City, so who knows? Maybe we have a different view of the world.
Yeah, I think maybe some of y'all, MGTOW, maybe should migrate south. You might have better chances. Like you might have less problems with women. You might find more women you could actually talk to and interact with and realize, holy shit, not all women are this way. It's just this section of women that choose to behave this way. They choose to be this person.
I don't know. Maybe not. At the end of the day, it's such a dangerous scenario right now. There's so many guys who've had their lives fucked over. And as I said, for us to go and ignore these men who report in on a daily basis, we have lawyers, doctors. You know, a doctor recently killed himself. He jumped off a bridge. And his wife is, she's like an ABC News anchor. I mean, come on.
Black Lives Matter, they have tons and tons of stories of times when they got fucked over, and the feminists have tons and tons of stories too. And
here you compare us to fucking Black Lives Matter.
I'm comparing ideologies. I'm not saying you're the same.
Compare us to a hateful bigot group. That's not right.
I'm not saying that you were a hateful bigot group. I'm comparing a lot of different ideologies. I'm saying that these groups that get together and they start thinking very circularly because they refuse to begin talking to other people. And I think if you let me make the point, you'll understand, because you've begun talking to other people and listening to other viewpoints. All they can see is the pain that the people that they're talking to see. They can't see the other things that go on in the world, that there are other stories, that yes, there is this large group of people, but there's an even larger group of people that live in your city that don't have to deal with the same things. They don't have the same experiences as you. And all they see is that things are more equal. And then even then, there's more people in your state and in this country and in the world. So that's why I look at things very individually, because that's the only way you really can. If you start looking at statistics can be twisted in anybody's favor, especially if you start adding in anecdotal evidence.
Okay, so like so for example, the high rate of male suicide, that could be, but that's potentially been doctored. The notion that more men, over 90% of men die on the job compared to women, that's also been manipulated.
I'm not claiming it's manipulated. I'm claiming you manipulate it yourself within your own mind because you're choosing to only look at that. You could also look at the fact that men have a higher rate of success at suicide. Women have a higher rate of attempt. Men have a higher rate of death on the job. Women have a higher rate of dying because doctors don't understand their health concerns in the same way they understand male health concerns. Like, everybody has their own set of privileges and their own set of struggles. Everybody in the world, from the very richest to the very poorest, has to deal with their own set of problems, and they get their own set of benefits. And nobody's is the same as anybody else's. So if all you do is twist yourself up in thoughts about your struggles, and you fail to recognize your benefits, or you fail to recognize the struggles and benefits of others, then you're just going to fill your mind with hate and disgust.
Name one benefit that men have over women in modern society.
Y'all love to point out your benefits all the time when you're claiming that you're better than women. You are physically stronger. You hold more positions in the workforce. You earn not more money, but you work longer hours. You focus more on your job. You earn better and become more successful. And these are all things more men do. These are all things more innate to men. These are your privileges that come with the fact that you're male.
Your traits. How can you say those are privileges? Those are traits of being a man. Those are not privileges.
Yeah, these are innate traits that men have. They are the privileges that come with being born a man. These are things that are going to be more likely to happen to you just because you're a man. Just like you're born a woman, people are more likely to give you tit privilege. You don't go around asking for tit privilege. It's not like we're saying we must have tit privilege here on YouTube. It just fucking happens. And that's more likely to happen because you were born a woman. Tits are just a trait. They're just something you're born with. I don't know, maybe I'm not getting my point across well enough. I'm better when I can kind of write shit out or have a cigarette when I'm trying to talk.
I'm here just thinking redheaded devil.
What I'm trying to say is that I think everybody has to deal with shit. Whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, whether you're rich, you're poor. Everybody has something they have to deal with individually. But everybody also, they have good things that happen in their lives, and they might not even realize it because they're so wrapped up in the hate and the disgust that they've put in their heads because all they can think about is the bad shit.
Here's the thing. Things have, like you said, tilted too far to the left when it comes to women, and it has, and it just keeps to be getting worse. And it's funny because despite the things you're saying, you have 2 sons, and do you ever wonder what the future is going to look like for them?
Oh, the future's going to be great for my kids. They're fucking beautiful. They're brilliant.
So you're not worried about false rape accusations when a girl says that, hey, Ma, when a girl says that he raped her, when in reality she was just drunk and they had consensual sex. You don't worry about these things. You don't worry about your son potentially committing suicide because men have higher rates of suicide. Yes, they're more likely to succeed. Again, you don't worry about these factors at all?
You first off underestimate how crazy I am if you think that some chick would be doing something like that to my son and get away with it for half a second. But I don't worry about my sons committing suicide because they have a stable, happy life. They come from a stable and happy home, and they'll know that they always have a support system to fall back on. I came from an extremely fucked up life, and I almost killed myself when I was 10 years old. It's not just men.
At the end of the day, it's not that MGTOWs don't acknowledge that women have issues. It's just that society is more tilted towards addressing women's issues than men. There's
I can
really
agree
very
with that.
support for men. And it's interesting when you look at feminism, you look at the hypocrisy of what's happening around the world. When it comes down to addressing actual things that are actually happening to women in places like the Middle East or discrimination, it's actually men who are the ones who are trying to actually address these issues, not feminists. If you look at countries such as Sweden, women are being raped in Sweden, attacked in Sweden, and they're having this type of stuff covered up by the so-called feminists. It's happening in Germany. It's happening all over the place. I mean, do you ever come to the conclusion, ever think about the fact that feminists don't actually care about women. They're really just fighting for power and privilege, and it's really men who are the ones who are trying to actually solve the problems of women.
Well, the thing is that not all women are feminists. I could totally agree with that. Feminists are being fucking stupid. I've called this out many times. I actually just posted the other day about that politician that walked out without putting the headscarf on. That's what feminism should be. That's where feminists should be. That's what they should be doing. But not all women are feminists. And yeah, it is. There are more men who have gone out and stepped up, and they're helping these women in these countries that actually need help. But I mean, that's their country. In my opinion, that's their country, and they have to step up and want to change their own life. That's their culture. I actually saw a video the other day of some women who did want to and were fighting to change things over there. I was very happy about that. But I couldn't go over there and help them. But if there were more women who could, that'd be fucking awesome. I wish they would. I wish feminists weren't so fucking stupid.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, despite what you're thinking and the fact that you seem like a decent enough person, but at the end of the day, most people don't think like that. And I honestly see there's going to be a bunch of women when shit hits the fan, and it's about to hit the fan. They'll want to basically say men and women need to fight together. But essentially, what it's going to be is they want men to fight for them now, as they've fucked everything up, and as the welfare state completely dies, and again, it's not going to be sincere. It's just going to be more of the same. They're going to start crying for egalitarianism, which won't pass because supposedly egalitarianism was the same thing as feminism. But now egalitarianism is going to be about equality because they want to draw men into it. When in reality, it's not going to bring forth any real change. And I think that a lot of men will simply shun the label. Labels are kind of dying off in our generation. And when you consider these factors, when you consider these factors, there's nothing of value that modern women will have to offer men. And I don't think it's going to be a sincere thing. Men have begun learning how to live without women. I don't know if you realize that, Amanda. Men have learned how to live without women.
This is the kind of stuff that starts to bother me. Like, y'all start to say shit about value and shelf life for men and women, and it's honestly kind of a disgusting way to look at a relationship, to look at people. We're human beings. We don't have a sexual value. We don't have a shelf life. When you're looking for a partner, it shouldn't be what can this person give me? What can I get from the relationship with this person?
I don't think you understand.
I know this person. I love this person. I want to make the commitment that I'm going to spend my life with this person, whether things get hard or whether things are always good.
We are animals, okay, Miss Wild Child. We are animals by nature, okay? And you may not want to admit to it.
But we're human as well. Like, there is a difference between humans and animals.
You'd be amazed how many similarities there are between humans and animals.
I'm not saying there aren't similarities between humans and animals, but there are also major differences, scientifically proven differences.
I think at our very basic core, we like to pretend that we're so much different from animals because we build great societies and we wear clothing and we do a bunch of other things. But in reality, I think when it comes down to it, instincts kick in, and instincts always go back to a basic notion of biology, where essentially women want men with resources that can provide, and men want a woman who is capable of producing good offspring.
See, that's what y'all do. Y'all take the subconscious and y'all act as if the nature of a human, and y'all act as if it's somehow part of the nurture, as if it's somehow a conscious thing, as if you could be at fault for it. Your subconscious, your animal nature, that does have an impact, but it's not something that you do on purpose or that you control or that you are ever at fault for, whether you are a man or a woman. Like when you fall in love with a person, yes, there are certain psychological things that are in play that you have been developing since early childhood. Things that usually you've seen from a stable, happy relationship with your parents. That's why Sigmund Freud liked to draw the fact that you marry your parents out of that. But that's just the first stable, happy relationship you are introduced to. And that's where you get your ideas from on what you want to seek in a partner to have that same stable, happy relationship. Or if your parents had a horrible relationship, you're still basing your partner around them in a way subconsciously, but you're looking for the antithesis of them to try and seek a happy relationship.
At the end of the day, men and women are still fundamentally different. I understand what you're saying. I understand the comparisons. I understand the psychological aspect of it. But men and women essentially want different things in a relationship, and they look for different things in the other gender when they're selecting mates.
Yes, but there's a subconscious aspect to it and a conscious aspect to it. And y'all try to prescribe fault to the subconscious aspect without ever recognizing the conscious aspect of the choice a woman makes in a relationship and a man makes in a relationship.
I don't think you're a bad person, but you seem like you think that the world is just going to sing Kumbaya at some point.
No, I think people are all fucked up and they're going to keep all being fucked up. But I think if you treat every individual person as if they are fucked up, then you're the fucked up one. Just treat everybody like a person, no matter who they are, no matter what their skin color, their gender, what crazy shit they think. Just treat everybody like they're a person and expect them to treat you the same. And if they don't, treat them like a piece of shit.
Women don't treat men that way. At least not entirely. Socially, women treat men like they treat men in an inhumane way. They don't treat men the way that they want to be treated. That's something that we see as a pattern in the U.S. And you may say that it's wrong. You may say that you disagree with it. But again, it's not going to change anytime soon.
I disagree with it, at least in the South. I really have never seen that down here. Like maybe Austin. I don't really go to Austin. But I think you're thinking more cities, more the north, more the liberal areas that have gone full feminism.
Have you ever left Texas?
Yeah, I've left Texas. I've lived a lot of places in the South, and I visited New York once, but it was just on a trip. Like I went to Lake George, New York, and I rode the little steamboats. It was really cool.
Huh. Well, regardless.
But I mean, we bounced around a lot when I was a kid. So I lived in Kentucky, Arkansas, New Mexico. I lived kind of all over around here in the South, Oklahoma, but a lot in Texas. But what about you too? Because we keep talking about the subconscious and the conscious drives and because I see a vast difference in Mgtows and in the people that I define as Miglies, which you do not like my term, I understand, but I want to draw a difference here somehow, and that's what everybody who watches my channel knows I'm going to say to draw the difference. So I'll use something different from here on out. I was just making a point. But the difference that I see is the moderate Mgtows, are the ones that genuinely just want to go their own way. They don't have a problem with women. They can talk to women and hang out, and they don't see themselves as better than or less than a woman, and they don't want to be treated as such. And so they'll treat anyone that treats them that way the same way they're being treated.
Right.
But the more extreme MGTOWs that I see, they believe in groupthink. And they think that all MGTOW, and they don't like you at all, by the way. But they believe that all MGTOWs have to behave the same way. You all have to go the same way.
What the hell do you mean they don't like me?
Traversable, they did a stream the other day, just like Markov did a stream the other day, just like screaming about you. But Traversable and all them were talking about it as well. They're not fans of you, Angry.
Traversable used to be a really close friend of mine until I, started associating with your kind.
My kind. Until you had a stream with Bearing. I saw that play out, and I just want to say, you genuinely didn't do anything wrong. You were having a stream with Bearing, and he jumped in. Like, he had every right to want to jump in because y'all had mentioned him.
I invited him in.
Yeah, I know, but he's the one. He came into the chat, and you asked if he wanted in, and he chose to engage. He chose to enter that chat, is what I'm saying. And he couldn't keep up with the conversation. He couldn't make his points. Like, y'all were refuting him and trying to show him, no, look, this is common sense. And he was getting angry. So I was totally on your side with that. You didn't do nothing wrong. You didn't stab him in the back. He chose to engage in that conversation.
You gotta know, these guys are my brothers still, Amanda. They are my, even though they're angry at me and even though they're pissed off with me because, some of them think I'm associating with the enemy, I still do care about them. All right? And
well, I'm not saying you don't have to. I'm not saying there's any I'm not saying there's any problem with a quote unquote community. Like, the term community, I like that as just a general term to describe a group of people. Or if you're saying that there are a lot of small communities within YouTube itself, just groups of people that get together and they form bonds of friendship and they talk and stuff, that's fine. But to try and say that, there is a skeptic community bugs me, or that there is a MGTOW community, that bugs me.
That is absolutely, shut for a moment. That is wrong. I mean, how can you say that, how can you knock people for creating their own community, saying a MGTOW community? That's not right. There's just like a vegan community. You have people who have collective interests, collective thinking, and they come together to share their thoughts amongst each other. What's wrong with that?
No, I'm not. That's what I was just saying, was there's nothing wrong with saying that there are small communities here on YouTube, groups of people that get together and form friendships and they talk to each other and they help each other out. That happens. I have a small community of friends here on YouTube, but to group it as a whole, if you were to say that I was part of the larger skeptic community as a whole, and we all kind of had this group think where we did things a certain way, that bothers me. And that's how I feel the extreme MGTOWs act about MGTOW. You group it all as a whole and say, we all as MGTOWs must behave this way or think this way or act this way. Or they'll start screaming that you're not a real MGTOW. They start saying stuff, I don't even understand the term, but like purple pill, purple simps, and cuck. And they start saying all these crazy things just because somebody wants to go their own way in their own way.
I understand, kind of. I mean, yeah, again, once upon a time, there was no community for men. There was nowhere for guys to go. And you have to understand that MGTOW is broad. There's guys who need to express themselves. There's guys who have this deep anger. And it's every person's right to want to, if a group of people say they want to be by themselves or they want to separate themselves from society, there's no one, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, like physically hurting someone, there's no reason why anyone should try to, say they can't do that. You agree?
Exactly. That's why I say I'm not anti-MGTOW. I hate when people label me that. I wouldn't label myself pro MGTOW either, because that makes it sound as if I advocate the thing, which I don't. I just am indifferent. If you want to go your own way and being in a relationship isn't a choice you want to make, you want to go join one of these little communities, that's totally fine. That's got nothing to
Okay,
do with me. That's your own
but
shit.
you still speak out on it against the extremists, MGTOW.
Yeah, like if you're putting your views out on YouTube, there is no safe space. Safe spaces are imaginary. You can't just say we want to go our own way, so you're not allowed to respond to the crazy shit we put out on the internet. That didn't fucking happen.
I mean, there's a lot of MGTOWs who don't necessarily. It's not about safe spaces. I mean, it's just kind of like, we kind of, I guess it's kind of a normalized thing what feminism has kind of told people that, well, we have our own safe space. So men kind of figure, well, then we should have our own space as well. But,
And I'm
I
fine
used to
with that.
I used to feel that way when people came to my channel and commented and women popped up there. And then I realized that YouTube is a broad space. I don't own it. And,
Exactly.
you put something out there, people will always have the ability to comment, just like I have the ability to block them or to ignore them.
Yeah, but I mean, going around and blocking people, that's a little. I don't block anybody. You would have to do something pretty extreme to end up blocked by me. And
Well, I
that
mean,
seems silly.
well, here's the thing. No one has to be forced to listen to the views of another person. That
No,
is
you don't
true.
have to read it, but you posted your opinion publicly and you have comments enabled on your video. Therefore, those people have the right to comment their opinion on your opinion. You posted your video out there. They have that right. It seems a little disingenuous to go about removing what they might say.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. I mean, I often leave the most radical of comments on my videos. And I mean, I don't disagree with you simply because you look at what's happening on Twitter right now, where there's literally censoring Donald Trump supporters, and you realize that the same thing could be done. It is being done by people on the left. So if you try to stifle free speech, it's essentially the same thing as refusing to hear anyone else's viewpoints just because you disagree with them. So I agree in that I agree in that sense. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I had MGTOWs getting upset with me just for the fact that I watch MGTOW videos, like we were saying. And I explained that I do that because I don't sit within an echo chamber. I watch anything that pops up in my feed that I think might be interesting. I watch it. And then if they say something that goes against my basic common sense, I'm going to make a video about it. That's how that works.
You have to remember too, Amanda, for a long time they've had their freedom of speech stifled. They've been told to shut up. They've been called mansplainers. They've been essentially they're called terrorists for having an opinion. You have to understand that when it comes to MGTOWs it's just like man's last stand. And these guys are very hostile. Some of these guys are hostile because some of them come from the MRI community where they were labeled and they were attacked or they've been stifled, and they end up in MGTOW and they just don't care anymore. And they see everyone as the enemy. And it's hard. I'm not saying all MGTOWs see people as enemies. I'm just saying that, MGTOW will have a variety of men, and a lot of these men have been burned really badly. They come to MGTOW and they just want to be either left alone or they have very negative views on women, and it's going to take them time to work those things out. So you have to remember that you have to take the good with the bad. Just like there are many different kinds of people, there are many different kinds of MGTOW, and realize that when you're dealing with a community of men who are going their own way, you're going to find a lot of men who have been victimized by a gynocentric society, gynocentric culture. And while the philosophy of MGTOW doesn't have anything to do with hating women or even necessarily separating ourselves from women, it does have to, you're going to find men who do actually live that type of lifestyle because that's what they need right now, at least in their minds.
And that's fine as long as you're just saying this is the choice that I make. When you're going out and saying that this is the choice all men should make because all women are just by their very nature evil, we're getting into creepy territory there. We're getting into the point where I have to make a video.
But here's the thing. You said creepy territory. How is it creepy saying all women are evil. How is it creepy? It's like you immediately turn around and put a word on it to like, to immediately shame these men. Oh, you're creepy for saying all women are evil. What about feminists who say all men are evil? Oh, you might say
creepy.
Again, you're shaming people for having. You are shaming people for having these viewpoints. They are creepers, and you know that. And no one kisses.
Because the viewpoint that they're spouting is one of hate towards the entire other half of our species. And that's a little creepy coming from the standpoint of the perpetuation of our species.
I don't know if I ever pointed this out to you, but there's a lot of Mgtows who think that women are not this. Men and women are not of the same species.
I've noticed, but we are. If we weren't, we would not be able to breed together, and there would be some female version of the male species for y'all to breed with and some male version of the female species for us to breed with. Like, that's how it works. That's how science works.
Maybe we're special. Maybe we're special.
Yeah, you're special little snowflakes. Perfect patient. Mark Doppelganger. I hadn't really been watching the chat, but I see it every now and then. Sorry, guys. When I'm talking, I'm pretty much just talking to the person. I have the chat on a whole other screen.
Alrighty. So, I mean, I think the original conversation started off with you essentially wanting to know my thoughts on, these guys who were pro-rape and, pro-hurting women. Like I said, you have to remember where a lot of that stuff comes from. The very core nature of Mgtow has nothing to do with that. And, if you actually say, well, we should call those kinds of men out, I was one of those men. And, again, sometimes men need to express their anger for them to get beyond it.
Sorry, hold on a second. Go on, kiddo. I can't hear you and have him talk at the same time. Go ahead. But I kind of get what you're saying about understanding where the men are coming from. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, really, is, look, yes, things suck in life. You can go through a lot, believe me, but you have two choices from the way I see it. You can either let yourself get wrapped up so much in the pain of what happened to you and in finding fault with somebody and in placing blame on another person or another gender, or you can just suck it up and change things for yourself and deal with things. And at least in my life, I've seen this work out in 1 out of 4 cases, because my siblings had all decided to be wrapped up in the pain of their life, ignore the things that happened to them, pretend like, life, everything was fine. And they just try to go about and live the same way we grew up. They're living right now. And I decided I wanted something better for my life, and I worked on it myself and my life, and I changed things before I sought a partner. I didn't go out and look for a person to fix my life. I fixed my life, and then I found a person that made that life better, made it complete. Like, you can wrap yourself up in your own pain, and you can make your own problems worse. You can make your pain worse.
It's funny, you talk like that, but I guess I don't know. I think that just like a man will never know what it's like to be a woman will never know what it's like to be a man, and just how difficult it is on a daily basis. The kind of shit we go through on a daily basis.
That's true, but what we can understand is that it's difficult for us both, equally, in different ways.
Equally. That's the funny thing. You keep bringing up the equality thing. You're saying that when you say equally, you're suggesting that men and women are suffering the same amount in society right now.
Yeah, equally. Because look, I'm going to put it to you the way my sister put. listen, I'm going to put it to you the way my sister put it to me when I was a little kid. Everybody, the very worst thing that ever happened to them, that's the worst thing that ever happened to them. It hurt them just as much as the worst thing that ever happened to you hurt you. It might not be the same thing. You might not feel like it's on the same level, but the feeling of it to them was exactly the same as how you felt. That's how we all feel things the same way.
Just because you feel things the same way doesn't mean it's the same things.
No, I'm not saying it is the same thing. What I'm saying is, look, women have their own freaking struggles to deal with. They have their own pains and their own heartaches, their own problems that, oh, it sucks just because I'm a fucking woman. And a man will never understand, never have to experience it because he'll never be a woman. Men have the same things equally. It's equal. We both have problems. They may not be the same problems, but we both have to deal with them. It sucks for both of us. The amount of suckage is equal. I'm not saying the things we have to go through are necessarily equal, and I would like to see society change, especially legally, because equality under the law is the only place you can have true equality, and I want that. And we desperately need to fix the legal system, because even beyond just gender in the legal system, we have a massive problem with jury nullification. Juries not understanding what their actual responsibilities are when they go in there. And we have problems with lawyers who fucking lie. So I would like to see a lot of things change in our legal system, but it's neither gender's fault, and both genders have an equal amount of problems to deal with. Women, part of our problem is we have to deal with these fucking feminists too, and the fact that we want to shut them the fuck up. Not shut them up because everybody's views should be heard and expressed, but get them to stop speaking for all women.
It's funny because when they were speaking for all women and getting all women all the entitlements, all you guys were silent.
I sure as shit wasn't. I've been bitching about this shit since I was a kid.
Yeah, well,
I just wasn't on YouTube.
Most women were out getting their spoils. When feminists were going around collecting everything from men, ripping away our happiness, ripping away our resources. You guys were out there collecting your spoils. You had your hands out. You weren't complaining.
How can you blame that on women when you say that men are the politicians? Men had to vote for this too. Men had to pass these laws too.
You don't understand the nature of politicians. Politicians serve a specific group of people. Women vote, men, and it doesn't matter if they're a politician or not. They respond based on how their delegations, how their communities want them to respond. And you have to understand that there's also self-interest in these as well.
So what you're saying is these laws passed and these women got these resources, and it's the women's fault because they went and took it, but the women were the ones that voted, and the women were the ones that spoke out, and the women were the ones that sought the change, and the men did nothing to stop it, so it's the women's fault. Because the men could have voted more, they could have spoke out more, they could have made sure that they were a loud voice.
Make sure they have tried. They have tried, and their voices were suppressed. That's what happened with the MRA. They were called domestic terrorists.
They were suppressed by who? By the other men?
By feminists.
The politicians are men.
They were, oh my gosh. They were suppressed by feminists because here's what ends up happening. Women say that men are discriminating against them by speaking out against them. Then the politicians say, oh, you guys are definitely bad. That's how it happens even in law enforcement. Why do you think
your problem is with feminists and not with women?
Women are
every time we talk, all I can seem to do is point out to you that you have a problem with feminism. You don't have a problem with women.
Women loved feminism until they realized that feminism was not getting them all the privilege.
Feminism wasn't appropriate anymore. Like, first and second wave feminism went about things in horribly terrible ways, but it was also pushed along by male politicians, not necessarily fully done by females. And I agreed with some of the things and not all of the things, not necessarily the way it was gone about. But third wave feminism is where things went fucking crazy, and that's when most women, smart thinking women, jumped off the fucking bandwagon.
Well, anyway, so we're just gonna agree to disagree because I am not gonna agree with some of the things you're saying.
I never thought we were gonna fully agree. This was just meant to be a chat. Like, you don't like to chat with people you don't agree with? You think a conversation has to be a competition?
Oh, definitely not. I don't live in an echo chamber.
Good. I was just making sure you weren't one of them people that think you have to win by the end of a conversation. I don't do that.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
That would be my song, if anything. No, my song is I'm a bitch.
Oh my god.
I fucking love that song. That's totally my song.
Well,
dude.
What?
I'm sorry, whoever Harris 3693 is. If you're gonna call me a hoe, can you like spell it right? I'm not a garden tool.
Harris. Ay, ay, ay. He doesn't like, I don't know how he keeps finding me on these things. He's pissed off at the whole roaming millennial debate. Doesn't like when I talk to you people. Doesn't like me associating with you women.
That's what they hate about you, that you're willing to talk to people, that you're willing to talk to females. I don't know why. Apparently, something to do with my vag makes it to where I'm fucking up blue pilling you with my voice somehow. The magical powers. It transmits from the vag to the voice through the mic.
There's all kinds of theories. That's a new one. The last one I heard was like there were these like pheromone-like things coming out of your vagina, and when I breathe them in, they like. But that wouldn't make any sense because they're like we're talking over the internet. So I don't know. I guess it's your voice or whatever.
Well,
your voice.
The last stream when he was talking about, I do believe he meant you when he was saying that when you're go around eating pussy, you're just eating estrogen. You're just ingesting all that estrogen. You're taking it in with your dick too while you're pounding her. You're taking in all that estrogen. I'm making fucking motions, but you can't see that because we're on the internet.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So I was pumping a chick up and down on my imaginary cock. That's what I was doing. Just so everybody knows in the chat.
You see, like, this is what I'm talking about. I'm gonna lose subscribers for some of it, and I can't really do anything about it. There are people who are going to be pissed off with me because, I'm willing to step outside of the echo chamber, and I don't apologize for it. I realize that there are women in the world who have their own problems, and I realize that I do sympathize for women in a lot of other countries who really are legitimately suffering, and honestly, I think that it's American Western women who are really the problem because they see, they're so privileged these days that they don't see anything beyond their own viewpoints of what they can give, what a society should give to them rather than what they can offer. So I definitely see things, and I agree when it comes to the notion that men and women do offer different things, and in our own way we offer what we can offer. So I agree on that. I don't think that we are equal, but I think that we equally try to give what we can. At least historically we did. For example, women did what they could do and men did what they could do. And we worked together to actually create something sustainable.
I mean, you do realize that the reason that women weren't out running around and working the jobs historically was that women had to be kept at home and pregnant back in those times, or we would not have a population now. Our species would have died off. If women were just at home popping out babies and trying to make sure the babies they popped out survived, we wouldn't have a species. That's why we've fallen into the roles we've fallen into. It has nothing to do with a woman's ability.
Well,
women can do anything they want to do.
Men and women
stronger. He might be better suited to a job, but that doesn't mean a woman couldn't do the job.
I think that there are differences, but I think biology again does play a role. For example, there are some women who want to be doctors, but then when they start hitting around 35, they want to have a baby.
Well, yeah, I mean that's up to them. That's a choice that they make. You choose, I want to be a doctor, so I'd better get my shit handled young. Like there are people that are already a doctor by 35. It doesn't happen often because you got to work your ass off and do like two different things at once, or you put your shit on hold and become a doctor after you have the baby. You've got to schedule your shit, but it doesn't stop you from being a doctor.
The point I'm making is that a lot of women who once thought that they could be Miss Independent, or they wanted to be businesswomen later on in life, they suddenly realize that they do want to be mothers, or they do want to take care of a household, or be housewives. That does happen.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's that woman's choice. And if she has a partner that, hey, that's what he wants to, or he's cool with that too, and they work that out financially, there is nothing wrong with that. We are biologically more inclined to want that because we have filled this role throughout our history as a species. We filled this role throughout our history as a species because that was a necessity to perpetuate our species. It's no
Okay.
longer a necessity to perpetuate our species. We're too high a population at the moment, so it's easier and it makes more sense for women to work. But it would be better for men, in all honesty, if women did it because it made you more valuable in the workplace when we weren't working.
Right.
Oh, he's here.
Your husband's home?
No, Markov is in the chat.
Uh,
The red Chicos.
Cog Grinder sent me a tweet on Twitter saying, MRA is a terrorist group in quotation marks. Wow, nice. Never knew dishonesty tastes so good.
Yeah, see, I don't really know about the MRAs. I'm actually fairly new to YouTube for how quickly I've grown. I came into all of this last November.
Uh-huh.
Like, so I don't really know all the history of the shit that's all gone down. I only know what y'all put in your videos. And lately, I hadn't seen anything coming out of Mgtow that explains maybe the history of what's gone on and why y'all have come to the point you've come to. All I see is stuff that's screaming at other men that they should hate women.
Okay. Well, like I said, MGTOW is a diverse group of men. We have many different views, and there's some men who hate women. There's some men who like women. There's some MGTOWs who hate women. There's some MGTOWs who like women. MGTOW is just a basic philosophy of going your own way, not getting married, not having children, focusing on yourself and your own happiness. But it doesn't have anything to do with being a separatist. Although there are many MGTOWs who do believe that a separatist lifestyle is not a bad one, which I did try to live for quite a long time, and it worked to some degree.
And I'm perfectly fine with that as a philosophy. My only two sticking points about MGTOW, the only reason that you ever see me making videos about them at all, and not just letting them have their little safe space, is that they will speak as if they are a collective, a groupthink, and that all the MGTOWs must go their own way in the same direction. And I find that illogical. And the way that they will speak as if everything is the fault of women, everything in their lives is the fault of women, that I will always speak out against because it's simply not true. But as long as we can come to a nice understanding and always agree to disagree, I love talking to you, Angry Mgtow. You're super fun. This has been a hoot.
Oh, that's just awesome.
What, you don't want to be talking to me no more?
No, it's not. Honestly, I enjoy getting out in it. One of the reasons why I started engaging people in the. Give me one moment. I need to blow my nose.
Oh my goodness, red pill. Yeah, you need a minute. Red Pill, you're not getting in my stream, dude. It's not gonna happen. You want to confront Angry Mgtow? He doesn't even know who you are. So you can try to send him a message on Twitter or something and ask him onto your channel if he would like to do that. But you're not getting in here.
Oh my gosh. So, believe it or not, one of the reasons why I actually began engaging the skeptics, the anti-feminists like this was because while I am a turd flinging monkey basically puts it out there really well. I attract a specific group of men, and I bring the anger because it's what attracts them. It's what gets them to listen to the message. But then once they're into the community, they can begin branching off and checking out work by Turd or other Mgtow who may not deliver it as radical as I do. One of the reasons why I began talking with you guys is because I realized that we were beginning to become a bit of an echo chamber, which is something I never wanted Mgtow to be.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you're willing to talk to other people and be moderate, and I had no problem with Mgtow. I never have. And I'm glad that you started talking to people because you were starting to sound a little crazy till you got laid.
Shut up, you...
It's the truth and you've admitted it. You said it was true. In our last stream, you said it was true.
The magical vagina, the power of the pussy.
You said it worked.
Well, the point is that, again, regardless of me sticking my dick in a hole, that has little to do with the fact that when it comes down to being a man in general, I think that men have to, I think it's going to take time for men to come back out of their shell. And I don't know, there's going to, by me doing these streams, there's a lot of guys who are going to disagree with it. But then there's also going to be the guys who do, say, you know what, maybe I can, think differently. Maybe I can find somewhere, in between. I've always said that I'm not trying to be the leader of men. I'm trying to get men to think for themselves.
Right, there you go. I'm all for that. That's the same kind of thing I do. Like, I don't play a character or anything. I don't bring anger or anything. I'm just me out here posting my opinions, but I try and post out people that are better at this than me, at getting things across and hopefully open up people's minds. Say, hey, I want to check out this YouTuber and this YouTuber, and I want to think a little more for myself and come to my own conclusions.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Amanda, it's not that I haven't had a great time talking with you, but it's time to go.
I was, yes, about to say as well, because it's time to get the kiddos in the bath and get them dinner and all that good stuff. So thank you for coming. Thank you all for being in the chat. And we're going to go ahead and end this here. Bye. Say bye.
Bye, fags.